Well, good morning, or whatever time of day you're watching this. This week we've started Ephesians 4, and today we come to verse 2. Yesterday was, as a prisoner of the Lord, I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling you have received. And today we read, be completely humble and gentle, be patient, bearing with one another in love. We're all on a journey. The Bible often talks about the Christian life as a walk. And in that walk, there are ups and downs, there's the sun out, but also there are winds and the storms and the difficulties. And often I think you would agree with me that if only we didn't have certain people in our lives, life would be so much simpler, life would be so much more pleasant. But you know, God uses the difficult people that we find difficult in our lives in order to make us grow. And we find that in this situation where God says to us, bearing one another in love, bear with one another in love. Bear means basically to put up with, cope with that person. It's a good job. It doesn't go and say bear with one another as though we sort of just grit our teeth and just say, well, I'll just get on with it. But actually to bear with one another in love, with the expression of love in all that we do to that other person. A number of years ago I read a book called Rough Edges. I can't remember the author now, but it was about missionaries and some of the difficulties they had in their lives, some really tough difficulties. But these difficulties were knocking off the rough edges in their lives and making them smooth. On the beach, and this isn't from the beach, but on the beach, stones are rubbed together, they roll in the storms, and especially in the storms, and the edges are knocked off. They don't start rough, they don't start smooth, but they become smooth. And God's doing the same in our lives. Here, this stone is a work in progress. We've got various cracks in it and holes, we've got various nodules that still need to be knocked off and smoothed out. But God does that through other people and other people in our lives. And we're to bear with one another in love. At school, a number of times I find one child might be falling out with another child. And when that actually happens, one of the illustrations I tend to use is one of pointing the finger. Because when we point the finger, we find three fingers are pointing back to us, or back to me. And so we go and blame the other person, but in fact, what part are we to play in that relationship which is making it foul? Bear with one another in love. At the beginning of the verse it says, be completely humble, gentle, patient. And those are three ways that can actually express this love to another person. I read this recently about humility, being humble. I mean, if we go and say, well, I'm going to try and be humble, it's very difficult to. And especially if we turn around and say, well, I'm now humble. I don't think that quite works, does it? But this is what I read. True humility is not putting ourselves down, but rather lifting others up. If we concentrate on lifting others up, then in a sense, we ourselves would be put to one side. Humility we don't have to concentrate on. To lifting others up. Bible goes and says, consider others as better than yourselves. And then secondly, be gentle. Be gentle. How often we can fly off the handle, but God wants us to be gentle in our dealings with others, and especially also those dealings with those people who are irritable or who irritate us. I wonder who you find who irritates you, or you find difficult to cope with, gets under your skin, who has hurt you, and how you're going to respond to that person. And the third, be patient. Patience is something we need tons of in our lives, with other people especially. And we know that God wants us to bear with each other in love, and to be humble, and to be gentle, and to be patient. But if we try and do that in and of ourselves, we fail dismally. But the great thing is that God doesn't go and say, well, get into this boat and I'm going to push you off and there's your life, get on with it. bear with each other in love. No, what he does, his presence and his power is in our lives, and we need to lean on him and say, Lord, I find this very difficult to do, that please, you do it through me. And as we lean on him and just trust in him, God works in us to will and to do of his good pleasure. And so God helps us to do that very thing and to shine for Jesus. And so today, I wonder, how smooth do you find your life at the moment? How much is God knocking the edges off and smoothing your life out? How much is he knocking those rough edges off? Well, may God bless you and make you smoother as days go by as well.